right, welcome everyone. We're going to call the November 21st, 2024 Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting to order. First order of business is if everybody can stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Again, welcome everyone. Good evening. Second item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And do we have some edits or changes, additions?
Yep. Madam Chair, members of the committee, we would suggest that you add one item to the agenda, and that's to accept the resignation of your chair, Lisa Hebert, because she was elected to the Apple Valley City Council in the most recent election. And so the committee should, I think the committee should accept her resignation and then have a conversation about how you want to handle the job of chairing the meetings moving forward. So I would suggest that gets added to the agenda.
All right.
Where do we want to put
Take a motion?
I think we would then put that item E to accept my resignation.
Make a motion to accept Lisa's resignation.
Oh,
And
we don't-
I'm sorry, to add it to the agenda.
We still get to talk about it later.
Add it to the agenda to accept.
My resignation. Okay.
I second
Yeah.
the addition.
There's a motion and a second to make a change to the agenda to accept my resignation. That feels really weird. Sorry. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that carries. I think, though, we still have to technically then approve the agenda. So
Make
we've
a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we have an amended agenda. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is our audience participation, and love seeing a couple faces out there. So again, welcome and thanks for joining us, and those online watching us as well. But this is the opportunity for anybody to come forward, speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, holiday recipes, things like that. So seeing none, all right, we will just move right along the agenda. So item number 4 is the approval of the October 2024 minutes. It's been in our packet. Everybody has had a chance to review them. For Eric and staff and committee, was there any edits, changes?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve and accept the October 24 minutes.
Second.
All right, there is a motion and a second to approve the October 2024 minutes. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we have minutes approved from October 2024. On to our agenda items. The first item is to hopefully hear about and approve our Parks Amenity Plan with Eric. Welcome, Eric.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So we're here to talk about the Parks Amenity Plan. I think the committee's well aware that we've been going through a process for a number of months now to try to figure out exactly what we're going to do in some of our parks based on the Parks Referendum. So I'll walk through the presentation. This slide just talks about the mission, the key goals, keys to the success that the City Council has adopted, and what we do in Parks and Recreation fits well with both the city mission, all of our goals, and the keys to the city's success. So the project team for the Parks Amenities Plan has been our management staff, really, and Nate, Brian, Steve, Dane, Kayla, and myself. All have been working along with all of you on what this Parks Amenity Plan will be as it's being considered this evening. So just to kind of refresh everyone's memory, back in November of 23, we held a Parks Referendum. We had 2 questions on the ballot. Question 1 passed by a 67% margin. and it was for $66,750,000. And it covered these items: trails, natural resources, in addition to the community center, senior center, the family aquatic center, preservation of park assets, which is really the park's amenity plan, Kelly Park, Hayes Arena, youth baseball, softball complex, Redwood Park. Question 2 was for an additional $6.5 million to fund a new community pool at Redwood Park. That passed by a 60 to 40% margin. So we have a total of $73 million to make these improvements to our Parks and Recreation system. And as part of the Parks Amenity Plan, it's really the general park improvements. So it's playgrounds, courts, lighting, irrigation systems, trails, pickleball courts, skate park, park signs, etc. The existing system has 49 parks, 700 acres of parkland, about 15 miles of trails within city parks. And then you can see the numbers on the amount of different amenities we have across the park system. The blue circles on the right-hand side represent a half-mile radius around every single park in town. So really, Apple Valley residents are served well by parks, and a half mile is generally thought of as to be a 10-minute walk or less. So most people in town can walk to at least a park, if not multiple parks, in less than 10 minutes. So from a parks amenity perspective, we're looking at investing approximately $23 million into the park system. The original number was almost $17 million plus $2 million for trails, but because we were able to secure some grant funding, we're able to invest a little bit more in our park system, so that totals just right around $23 million, and it breaks down as you can see it on the screen. As a part of the parks amenity study, we kind of divided the community into service areas, and so there's 20 service areas that are really divided up by major roadways within the community, and they're anywhere between a half mile to a square mile. And we wanted to make sure that we're having amenities in each one of these different service areas. As a part of this process, we want to make sure that we know exactly how many parks do we have, what is the acreage that we have, and where are those parks located. Right now, different city documents, they're not consistent, and so not tonight, but soon, we're going to be making sure that consistently we identify what our parks are, the number of them, the size of them, the location of them. And tonight we're suggesting that, as an example, that Greenleaf North right now is on the maps and in a lot of city documents is just a park called Greenleaf Park. But a lot of people, either externally or internally, refer to Greenleaf North of 34th?
35th.
35th, close. 135th Street is sometimes referred to as Greenleaf North, and the park south of that is referred to as Greenleaf South. Well, so we're suggesting that we actually name the park Greenleaf North with its own address, Greenleaf South with its own address. So on paper, we're picking up a park, if you will, but not really, because we're not adding any parkland to the system. So we've been doing quite a bit of community feedback. As a part of this process, we met in every single park in town over the course of about 14 nights. We engaged with well over 1,000 people. Excuse me. As a part of that process, we also gave people and encouraged people to leave comments on our social pinpoint site, and we collected well over 700 comments about the park system on that. Generally speaking, what we heard was that people like the close proximity they have to playgrounds within our community. We have more than our neighbors, and people are okay with that. In fact, that's what they want. They want to make sure that they maintain close proximity to parks within their neighborhood. So we've devised a plan, if you will, to address that and to make sure that everything's not the same. There'll be a variety spread across the community. People wanted to have access to basketball courts, and in some cases they wanted to have hoops on both ends of the court. While they may not be, what we're proposing tonight may not be full-size basketball courts, in cases where that's what the neighborhood wanted, we're able to provide, or at least suggest that we can have two hoops at a court. And in some cases, people only wanted one, and so we, again, followed the feedback, or tried to follow the feedback that we felt like we received. Having tennis courts easily accessible within neighborhoods was important to residents as well, as was pickleball courts. Sand volleyball seems to be less important to folks, and so in some cases, we're suggesting that sand volleyball be removed. Off-leash pets areas were important to some people, and so we're suggesting that we add one at Galaxy Park. And then, again, throughout this entire process, through the statistically accurate surveys that we've done and the feedback that we've received, protecting the natural environment is important to people. So as a part of this plan, over the next 5 years, we would propose to be making improvements to a number of our parks, not all of our parks, because some of our parks are a little bit newer than others, but on the list that's on the screen, we would make improvements in the years identified to the parks identified. And as we go into a park, our goal is to replace the playground equipment. If there's a court there, to update the court, and that could be either a resurface or it could be a total reconstruct depending on the condition of the court. And in some cases, that's a reconfiguration of the court space. So it might be 2 tennis courts today, but in the future, based on neighborhood input, it might be a tennis court, a pickleball court, and a basketball court with 2 hoops. Or it might be a tennis court, 2 pickleball courts, and a basketball court with only 1 hoop. Again, all of those are based on the feedback that we received as a part of this process. So we're utilizing the same footprint, but we're trying to provide more amenities at the same cost to the city as a part of this plan. So playgrounds, courts, backstops, we'll be looking at trails, making sure that they're ADA accessible as much as possible, looking at parking lots and other systems that might be in the park system. So this is our plan in how we plan to go about doing those. We want to try to do everything we can in the same year in each park, as opposed to, well, this year we're going to work on parking lots and then have to be in every park in town that has parking lots. And next year we'll work on basketball courts and then have to be in every park in town that has basketball courts. That seems a little disruptive to neighborhoods if we're in there every summer fixing something or replacing something. So we're going to try to go in there just one summer and do it all at the same time. At least that's our plan. Hopefully it'll prove that we can actually do it that way. When it comes to playground, as I mentioned, right now we're a little bit heavy on the playgrounds. We've got 54 playgrounds in town. Compared to our neighbors, we've got more. This plan suggests that we will end up with 49, and so we will have a playground in every park in town that has a playground today. In some parks in town, I'll use Redwood as an example, it has 3 playgrounds. It's only going to have 1 in the future. Faith Park has 2. It's only going to have 1 in the future. But every park in town that has a playground will have a playground after we get done, if we implement this plan as it's being proposed this evening. We talked about a classification system, so we would have 16 local playgrounds spread across town, 23 neighborhood playgrounds spread across town, 4 area playgrounds, 4 community playgrounds, and 2 destination playgrounds. And so people will have access to what they would call their playground, if you will, and it might be a local playground, it might be a neighborhood playground, it might be an area playground, it might even be a community playground. And the investment level that we make in each one of those playgrounds will be different at those different classifications, but they will be spread across the city, so it won't be that hard to get to a different classified playground within a reasonable distance from your home. Might not be completely within walking distance, but it won't be like you have to drive across town to get to them. Excuse me. So again, generally, playgrounds are within a 10-minute walk of where people live. We're going to replace them at 25 years. We've developed this classification system, and it's going to take us 5 years to get our playgrounds, everything that we have, to be less than 25 years old. We do have some playgrounds that are, let's say they're 18 or 19 years old now. By the time we get to the end of this, now some of those will start to be replaced as well. Not necessarily with referendum dollars, but with dollars that we have in our capital improvements plan. These are just examples of the different level of investment that we'll be making in playgrounds. And so this is an example of a local playground. This is an example of a neighborhood playground investment, an area playground, a community playground, and you can kind of see the progression of the level of investment that we're making as we go along here. And I don't have destination because that's just, there's not a standard, if you will, for that. And we'll have 2 of those. One will be Redwood and one would be Kelly Park. When it comes to tennis courts, we also have quite a few more tennis courts than our neighbors do, but again, if a site has a tennis court, it'll always have a tennis court. And in some cases, If it has 2 tennis courts today, in the future it might have a single tennis court, a pickleball court, and a basketball court, again, based on neighborhood feedback that we received. This is the area, this is a map and the locations in which there will be tennis courts and now pickleball courts. We have lighted pickleball courts at Scott and Hagemeister. The plan is to take the lights out of Scott and have 4 lighted tennis courts at Hagemeister. And then we plan to light 8 pickleball courts at Johnny Cake Ridge Park West. These are the parks in which there will be basketball courts. So a lot of these locations already have basketball courts, but there are some new locations that will have basketball courts, and that all goes back to reutilizing the footprint of a dual tennis court. And again, based on feedback that we received from the neighborhoods. These are just examples of what it would look like. So today at Belmont and Heritage, it's a single tennis court. And in the future, it's going to be a tennis court dual striped for pickleball. The other option we gave them was a basketball court with a pickleball court, but folks wanted it to look more like the one on the left. So that's what they're going to get, because that's what they asked for. Where we have double tennis court at Greenleaf, it's going to stay double tennis court with dual stripe pickleball courts. And then in all the other areas where we have double courts, it's either going to, double tennis courts, it's either going to be the version on the left where we have a tennis court, 2 pickleball courts, and a basketball court that's approximately 60 by 60, or it's going to be a tennis court, a single big pickleball court, and a little bit larger basketball court. Again, all in that same footprint. And then in some cases, we have just a basketball court. And so in some cases, it'll be a court with just a single hoop, but in some cases, it'll be a court with 2 hoops, again, based on feedback from the neighborhood. We currently provide in the spring, summer, fall, we provide off-leash dog areas at Delaney and Huntington inside the hockey rinks. People wanted access to more of that, so we're going to add Galaxy Park to that offering, starting in 2025. And again, natural resources is important to folks. The council recently adopted a natural resource management plan for Alamagna Park, and our natural resource staff is working on implementing that plan. It's going to take a number of years to be able to implement that, but there's other areas within the park system where we can do a better job of managing our natural resources, and we're going to work towards that goal because we know it's important to folks.
Hey, Eric, real quick, on that last slide, one thing about the replanting of trees with diverse species, as the city does that, through my work, we volunteer with Tree Trust, and it makes for a really good event. Whether or not it's with Tree Trust, it would be good to see if that's a way that we can get the community involved through tree planting events like Earth Day, or, you know, I know you can plant kind of spring or fall, but that feels like a good community involvement thing.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Moving along here, one thing that we heard from residents was that they wanted to see us install dog waste stations across the park system, and that's somewhere between 100 and 150 pet waste stations. From a staff perspective, we're not excited about, and nor do we think we should be in the business of providing dog waste stations across the park system and filling those with bags on what would end up being a pretty consistently regular basis. It would take up a lot of staff time. There would be quite a bit of expense to that. So we're suggesting that pet owners continue to be responsible for carrying their own bags and picking up after their dogs and disposing of it in garbage cans that might be found in the park system, and they can always carry it home with them and dispose of it at home. So from a next steps perspective, encourage the Parks Committee to talk about the proposed Parks Amenity Plan, make any adjustments you feel are necessary, or changes that you feel are necessary, but then ultimately we would present whatever that document's going to look like to the City Council at an informal meeting on December 12th, and then assuming they don't have any major changes to it, we would ask them to adopt it on December 26th, and then we would begin implementing the plan based on the slide that you saw that had the 5 years on it and the list of parks underneath each one of those years. So at this point, I can stand and answer any questions that committee members may have, and there may be some people in the audience that may want to ask a question or make a comment as well.
Great. Thank you, Eric. I will first open it up if there's anybody in the audience who wants to comment on the Parks Amenity Plan or have any questions on the Parks Amenity Plan. No? Okay. Just wanted to double check on that. Thank you. Committee members, comments, questions?
I went through all the comments that came in, social feedback, social pinpoint, whatever today, and taking out the comments that were made specifically about a single park. The most common comment that was there was people saying, nice work, you listened to us, you made the changes that our neighborhood recommended. There were comments, it was sprinkled all over with those kind of comments, which confirms the good job that I think the city has done in listening to people's feedback. The number of meetings you've had, the number of opportunities you've had for people to help direct this project, it's not insane, but it's overwhelming. You guys have done one heck of a job in doing your best, your damnedest, to listen to what people wanted, and that's reflected in the amenity plan that's before us today. So, nice work.
You're never gonna have everybody be happy, that's just a given. So, I mean, I think this is an excellent plan, and I agree with Randy. I guess you guys did a great job of sorting through all this and coming up with this, and hopefully this will all be able to fit in the budget. I do suppose you thought about that?
A little bit.
A little bit, okay. Good.
Yeah,
I have a couple spreadsheets on that thought.
my only comment is, a meeting or two ago, when you laid out this schedule, I was skeptical that you'd be able to get all this, the feedback and the revisions done in this year, but you pulled it off, so nicely done.
Thoughtful plan, well executed, included a lot of folks in it. I was proud to be part of that, so I support the plan.
This is 14 years in my making. Good job.
Craig, any comments from you?
No, I'm very pleased with what I see. I think that as far as the level of detail that we've gotten to, I think that the city staff has done a really good job keeping both the big picture and people's more immediate needs in their local parks balanced well. So.
Yeah, I'll just echo the kudos to everybody on this. The late nights with all the community engagement. I mean, all the time you're not at home, and doing this on behalf of the residents here in Apple Valley, again, thank you, because I think that this is truly really a once in a generation opportunity that we have to make such an investment in our parks, which people clearly have come out passionate about, that this is important, and have shared what they want to see with these parks, with the parks in their neighborhood and across the city. And again, I just, a hell of a job to everybody. And again, doing this on top of, and let's not forget all the other things that you're doing. And I know we've got more to talk about tonight, but again, I just, again, want to say thank you.
So maybe a couple other comments I'd like to make, if you wouldn't mind. So we started this with the neighborhood, going to each neighborhood project. And I decided to go for a bike ride one day and had a little accident, so I had to miss some time. And so I want to say thanks to our staff that stepped up and filled in for me, Kayla and Brian and Nate and Steve. And they took the bull by the horns, and they didn't get fazed by the fact that they were in the parks having to answer questions. And it's safe to say that we originally proposed some things that we knew weren't going to be well received. And that's what we experienced, and they got to experience it firsthand, face to face, and in some cases, where's Eric? We'd like to have a little conversation with him. Well, he's not here. So I appreciate the fact that they took the bull by the horns and they did it. I'd also like to thank the community for having patience with the process, and trusting that we were going to do what we said we were going to do, which was we proposed something that was in some cases controversial. And I think that's okay. That's one way to make sure that people are engaged in the process, and they were engaged in the process. They told us how they felt, and we did our best to listen and make adjustments based on that feedback. So I'd like to thank the public and the residents of Apple Valley for participating in the process to make their parks be what they want them to be. And I also thank the Parks Committee for being involved in that process as well, trusting in the process, letting the process play out, and getting it to the spot where we are today. Hopefully the City Council will be comfortable with this. I have no reason to believe that they won't be, but hopefully they'll be comfortable with the process as well. So again, thanks to our staff, thanks to you, and thanks to the Apple Valley residents for participating and giving us their feedback.
You brought up something that kind of dinged in my head. The residents of the Apple Valley adopted something new, you know, going online, registering their information. That was out of their comfort zone, I'm sure, to do. I'm sure at this point they just really are used to just firing off an email, and I'm sure you got lots of those. Anyway,
Actually didn't get very many emails because
Good.
we kept asking people and encouraging people, please go to Social Pinpoint. It's such an easy place for us to keep track of what you want, as opposed to, where did I put those 10 emails about this park, and where did I put those 5 emails about this park? It was all in one spot, Social Pinpoint. And it helped make the process a whole lot easier, to be honest with you.
they did it.
Yep, they did. They
great.
did what we asked of them. In return, I think we did what they asked of us.
Eric, do you want to just kind of, I know it's like in the thousands, but as a part of this process, with Social Pinpoint and these community meetings, you were able to get an email list of, I know it's several thousand, I don't even know what it's up to, but I think that it's really important people also understand that that list, you know, through the next stages of this and letting people know that the amenity plan was the revision of the plan was out there for people to review and comment on it. So that this dialogue and community conversation continued, even though it may not have been like here, that those thousands of conversations. So I don't even know how many emails.
It's somewhere around 4,500 right now, and you know we're using that email list, like you mentioned, to make sure that people are aware of, hey, we're having an open house about Hayes, we're having an open house about Redwood. In the future, it's going to be we're having an open house, or jump online and tell us what you think about the playground equipment at parks A, B, and C. And so I know people are paying attention because for those that may have moved out of town, they'll send me an email, please take me off your list, we moved out of town. And for others, they show up to the meetings because they got an email. Or they go to our website and leave comments on our Social Pinpoint site because they got an email. So I know it's working. It may not be the best way. I think the best way is still to go and meet them in their parks. That's when we got the best response or the best feedback. But we can't always do that. We just don't have the time to meet in every single park all the time about all the issues.
But you did with this one, and
We did.
it paid off, and I
Well,
think.
they did.
Well, everybody did, and you know, a lot of us were there when you weren't able, and they were there, you know, a team of pros, and I just, again, that this is, I think, an example of community engagement at its finest, and when, just a star example of how the process works when we work together, so. All right, so.
I'd like to recommend that the committee approve the park's amenity plan for presentation to the city council.
Second.
All right, there has a motion and a second to recommend the approval of the Parks Amenity Plan to the City Council. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, I think next one is to talk about, again, moving right along with Parks Bond referendum work, the reviewing Redwood Park design. Exciting.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the committee, so the next item on the agenda is to talk about the plans for Redwood Park. Assuming you're comfortable with the plans, this will be going in front of the Planning Commission on December 4th and the City Council on, I think it's December 26th. We are going to be asking the Planning Commission for building site plan and building authorization. They'll hopefully approve it, and then the City Council will approve that so that we can then keep moving the process along. So I'll walk through the slides that we have for Redwood Park at this time. So Redwood Park is a $16.1 million project. About 80% of that, or 12.8, is being spent on actual construction costs. 20% of that, or about $3.2 million, is being spent on what's referred to as soft costs, and that's plans and specifications, engineers, architects, the construction manager. bonding, insurance, and those types of things. We have received $1.4 million from the state of Minnesota for the Inclusive Playground Project, and another $500,000 from the federal government for the Inclusive Project. We have, like the Parks Amenity Plan and everything that we're trying to do, we've involved the public in the process through public meetings. It's how we developed the concept plan for the referendum. It's how we've developed the plans that you're looking at this evening. We've mailed letters to the neighborhood that live immediately around the park. We had the folks that filled out the petition about the pool, and we've got their email addresses, and so they're part of that 4,500 email addresses that we've got. So we really are trying to make sure that we're doing, for the most part, what people want to see happen. There we go. So as a part of this, we've got an aquatics portion of the project. The swimming pool that's proposed is similar in size to the swimming pool that's at Redwood Park today. It'll be zero depth entry. It'll also have a stair entry. There'll be a deep end with a diving board and a climbing wall. The pool is set up very nicely for swim lessons. There'll be plenty of shade on the pool deck. This is kind of a graphic of what the pool will look like. You see in the top picture, or the picture on the left, it's got the diving board with the deeper end, about 14 feet deep, with the climbing wall. And then the other area is the zero depth entry with the stair entry. The deepest area in that part of the pool is about 3.5 feet. And so again, set up very nicely for swim lessons. And it's handicap accessible as well, meets all ADA codes. The playground will be an inclusive playground, the first one in Apple Valley, and the only one we plan to have in Apple Valley as far as a completely inclusive playground. It'll involve both hillside play, port-in-place rubber. It'll have quiet zones and active zones. We're still working on the specifics of the design, so we don't have anything specific to show you this evening. We will at a future meeting, and we will be engaging the public in that as well once we have those more specific playground designs put together. From a courts perspective, there'll be tennis courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts, and equivolley. The committee members will recall that there's a group of Ecuadorians that play equivolley on a regular basis there. They were at our recent open house. They're very excited to see that we're making space for the sport that they love to play, equivolley. From a buildings perspective, the existing building will be torn down. A new building will be constructed. It will serve both the aquatic needs and the park needs. In the drawing that's on the right-hand side of that drawing will be the east side of the building, and you've got the kind of the pool admissions area right away there. Then behind that, you've got a lifeguard area and then a first aid area. Then as you move to the left in that drawing, you've got the kind of the locker room area, and so we're proposing that we would have unisex locker room area. So all of those rooms are private rooms. So whether you're male or female, you can go in one of those rooms, shut the door, have privacy, change from your street clothes into your swimming suit. There's going to be a shower and a toilet in each one of those rooms. So you'll have complete privacy before you would enter and go out to the swimming area. Then as you move a little bit further to the left in that diagram, we've got more of the storage and mechanical areas for the pool equipment, for the furnace, for the boiler, for the pump, or for the pool, etc. And then the three rooms that face the park are restrooms that will be available for people using the park side of the park, so the playground side of the park. One of those will have an adult changing table in it for folks that will be using the park that might have some accessibility needs. And then the large room behind those three bathrooms is a storage area for the park building room that's going to be there. I don't remember off the top of my head how many square feet that is, but the windows that face the pool, so the pool's on the top side of this drawing. You don't see it, but the pool's on the top side of this drawing. The windows, those are windows, so stationary windows with a door on the left-hand corner. Then the doors on the south side or the bottom side of this will be large sliding glass doors that can be left open, so it feels like the room becomes part of the outside and vice versa. And there'll be large sliding glass doors on the west side of this building. And then those tables that you see in the drawing will be underneath underneath an overhang, and you'll see that here in an image that we put up here in just a few minutes. The left-hand side of this building will be heated and be open or be available year-round for private rentals and whatnot. So this is an image of the building from the parking lot. And the two people you see in the drawing there are standing at the admissions area to get into the pool. The door you see underneath the pool entrance is obviously how you get into the locker room space. Excuse me. And then the door you see off in the distance is the door into the room that's on the far west-hand side of the building. In this drawing, the playground is on the left-hand side and the pool is on the right-hand side. County Road 42 is on the left-hand side of this drawing. So this is an image from the other side of the building, and you can see the picnic tables underneath the overhang there. You can see the large sliding glass doors that face the west-hand side of the building and the playground. And then the pool is kind of in the background behind the building itself on the left-hand side of this drawing. These are images from inside that large room. You can see that there's some cabinetry and some countertop space designed for if you're having some type of a gathering and you're going to be serving kind of a buffet style meal and whatnot. That'll be there in place with tables and chairs available to use. You see the fixed windows overlooking the pool in this diagram, or in this image. In this image you see the sliding glass doors facing west towards the pond. And in this image you see the sliding glass doors facing south towards the playground. And I think there's, yeah, so this is one more image. And so this talks about solar. So we're planning to put solar on the roof of this facility. Today we use a little less than 60 kilowatt hours of energy annually. If we fill the roof with solar, we'll produce about 100 kilowatt hours annually, which is more than what we will likely be using. The estimated cost to install the solar is about $250,000, and it would have a payback of about 8 years. So we'll, even in the first year, we'll be selling some of the power that we generate back to Dakota Electric or putting it back in the grid. And after 8 years, we should be being able to put some money in the bank, if you will. As a part of this whole project, we've been working closely with Dakota County on their plans to improve County Road 42. One of those improvements is removing the stoplight at Elm and 42. And to do that, they're proposing to put in an underpass of County Road 42 between Redwood Park, north of 42 and south of 42. So everything south of 42 would be part of the Dakota County project, but they're proposing to put in some stormwater ponding, some infiltration basins, having some connective trail loops, and then it'll be natural grasses and prairie type situations south of 42. So a very natural setting as you drive into Apple Valley from Burnsville. Hopefully it won't be necessarily mature in the first couple years, but eventually with proper management, that'll be a very nice feature as you drive into town. And then obviously the active areas of the park will be north of County Road 42. One thing I haven't mentioned is we do plan on putting a monument sign on the north side of County Road 42 that will have a reader board on it, and it'll say something like Redwood Park on it, and then the reader board will be able to advertise, swimming functions that we're having, or pool opening dates, pool closing dates. Come reserve this building, call Park and Rec, whatever the case might be on that reader board.
A question on that. I know you'd talked about firming up the number of parks we have. Is Redwood there going to be 2 parks or 1 park?
Our plans at this point would be for it to be 1 park.
Okay.
Then from a construction schedule standpoint,
Hold on, can we go back to that reader board?
Yep.
We've talked about having some type of signage, some type of reader board that's a changeable message to inform people of what's going on in the city. This sounds like it's just for the pool.
No, we can put any message we want on the reader board.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be very close to what we have at Valleywood, only it's going to say Redwood Park on it.
Okay, got it.
And it's going to be in part of when we approved the signage plan, there was.
It'll follow
that plan.
it'll follow the concepts that the park system sign master plan had, and we had some images of what monument signage might look like with reader boards. So while it hasn't been designed specifically yet, it'll play off of that.
Will it be electronic?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So it will be a-
Winterfest, I mean, we can,
I'm sorry?
Winterfest, I mean, we can put whatever we want on there.
Well, there's some city ordinances that talk about what you can put on reader boards, because they don't want them to become billboards. So we will step up to the line, we might put our big toe across the line, but we won't get totally over the line.
It won't cut off your toe.
Try not.
Hopefully not.
Okay.
So it will be a welcome to Apple Valley type sign, or?
No,
No.
thanks for asking that question. So in the area south of 42, if you think of the northwest corner of that site, or the southeast corner of the intersection of, was that Redwood and County Road 42?
Yep.
We are saving a space, if you will, for the city to put that welcome to Apple Valley type signage there.
All right.
Great.
So not part of our park plan, not gonna come out of our budget, but we're saving a space for that to happen in the future. And that's more of a city decision than it is a park and rec decision.
Okay.
That's been something that I know a lot of people have wanted to see for a while, so.
Can you go back to that picture?
Can you go back to the floor plan, please, Kayla? Thank
There you
you.
go. Almost looks like somebody could get into that room and then get into the pool.
So the only, once you're in the room, the only way to get into the pool would be the door in the top left-hand corner. And we'll have that locked so that you can't get out there.
I'm talking about the exterior
There'll be a,
in here.
That's the park side.
so that's the park side. Maybe I'm not following your question.
Both sides of it.
So there'll be a
Right.
door to get into there. Kayla, can you point to the door down by the sidewalk?
Yeah.
To the right? Yeah, there's gonna be another door there as well, but there's sliding glass doors there as well.
Okay.
So depending on what's going on, if it's rented or not rented, if it's just open to the public, those
The
doors,
lock on the pool side is
we'll be able to lock down the pool side so no one gets in there when
Okay.
they're not supposed to be.
I was just
The
looking at
last thing
that.
we'd wanna see happen is an accident, obviously.
Right, exactly.
Don't wanna read about that in the newspaper.
I just thought about, kids letting their buddies in.
Nope, we'll have a system to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And then I don't remember we were on the last slide. right?
Last
Yeah.
slide, yep.
So just schedule.
Questions?
So we are now working on the plans and specifications. I mentioned that we're gonna be in front of the planning commission on December 4th. And then hopefully the city council on December 26th for site plan building authorization. That doesn't mean, so that's just with setbacks and general look of the building. We're still working on details of all of this. Our staff is looking at the details of the plans for the building, for the parking lot, for everything basically except for the playground, because we don't have that yet. So we continue to work on plans and specs. We plan on bidding this. Kraus Anderson is our construction manager. They will be bidding this project in February. We will be awarding a guaranteed maximum price contract to Kraus Anderson in March. And then we start construction shortly thereafter. It will take all of '25 and into '26 to finish this. We hope that we can get done in time to open up the pool in June, but there may be things that delay that beyond June 1st. So we'll do the best we can to stay on that schedule.
Great, thank you, Eric. I just from a question, so are you asking us to, just to clarify, are you asking us, is this just a review, or you're gonna be asking for a motion to recommend approval of this?
So
Or
a motion to recommend the concepts that you see in front of you,
Okay.
knowing that we're still working on some details. Again, we'll be back in front of you with details of the playground. And if there's any significant changes that we would make as a part of the planning process, we would certainly bring that to your attention. But I don't think it's things that you're necessarily gonna have to be concerned about. We're talking about door swings, we're talking about, types of equipment, mechanical equipment, things that you wouldn't necessarily deal with. But those are the things that we might be changing between now and bid time from a staff perspective.
Okay. All right, questions, comments from committee folks?
Well, I can start. So overall, this looks amazing. I think the point you made about this being a nice entryway into the city from the direction of Burnsville is absolutely what I was thinking between the new building and the kind of natural restoration area to the south and the matching no-mow areas, or the kind of natural borders on the north side, I think it'll look really good. The one thing, and I mentioned this in the informal, but just so I get it in the record, is I think that we'd be well served to see if we could move that hammock grove a little bit away from the road, just to a quieter location. But otherwise, I have no real complaints or anything about the plan. I think it looks awesome, and I can't wait to go.
Gonna have to wait a little while.
A little bit. Yeah.
Gotta wait another year. Wait another year.
You said June, right? So
Yeah.
June of 2020.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the site plan and concept building plans for the Redwood Park to the city council.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to recommend approval of the site plan and concept building plans for Redwood Park to the city council. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. I'm excited to pass that along. Thanks again, Eric.
Yep. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks to our, honestly, thanks to our consultants for all the work they've done on it. Thanks to our staff for all the work they've done on it, and not just Park and Rec staff, but, our planning staff, our engineering staff. It's really a city staff effort to get all of the details figured out, to make sure that we're following the same rules that we would expect a private developer to follow. We're not getting treated differently just because we're the city. And if anything, we're probably not bending as much as we might for a private developer, so.
Oh, thank you. Again, with everything else already on your plates. Next item on the agenda is approving the department fee schedule for 2025. I know we've got a lot of information in our packet, but
Yep, so Madam Chair, members of the committee, each year we look at our fee schedule, we make adjustments based on our costs, based on what the market's doing, et cetera. This evening, we have prepared that. We are making some suggested changes, and I'll just highlight those. Well, we're suggesting arena fees increase by roughly 3 to 4%. With Splash Valley coming online, we're recommending that the daily admission increase by $1, roughly 8%. And then we're introducing a season pass, which isn't something that we've had in the past, but it is something that we've gotten feedback on in the past. And so we're recommending that a resident season pass is $98 and non-residents is $108. And so that's per person, not for the family or something like that. So if you're a family of 4, it's roughly $400 to buy a season pass to Splash Valley Water Park if you're a resident of Apple Valley.
Is there a different cost for children versus adults?
Nope, because there's not a different admission cost for children and adults. Am I speaking correctly? Yep, okay. And then at Valleywood Golf Course, green fees are being recommended to be increased by roughly 6 to 8%, cart rentals 7 to 9%, and driving range fees somewhere between 20 and 50%. Should also note, maybe the committee's not aware of it, Jim, maybe you could give a quick update on what's going on with the golf cart situation?
Yeah, so as part of our cart lease was up this year, and working with the vendor and through some rebate programs, we just took delivery actually yesterday morning. I believe Randy saw the semis pulling in of 60 new golf cars, lithium battery golf cars. So, and a lot of our price adjustments are just based on supply and demand and what we're seeing in the marketplace. So, yeah, we're set on golf carts now for the next 5 or 6 years.
Important to point out that the fleet that we just retired was a leased fleet, and so we were making an annual lease payment. Because of the success of the financial success of the golf course over the last several years, we were able to pay cash for this fleet of golf cars. Ended up with rebates and trade-in values and whatnot. The final cost of the carts to us was $401,000 and some change, and so we paid cash for that. So we will now start the process to start saving a little bit of money every single year for the next 5 to 6 to 7 years, so that next time we can pay cash again, so we don't have an annual payment to be made towards golf carts. And that, for our staff, I think that feels pretty good to know that we've had that much success, that we can start paying cash for some things.
By purchasing them, we saved about $80,000 in finance charges, so.
Yep.
Similar to buying a
great.
$40,000, $50,000 car. You're gonna pay $8,000, but when you buy $500,000 worth of golf carts, it's a bit more.
So that's just kind of a highlight of the changes in fees. I mean, there's other changes, but I think these are the ones that typically will catch people's eyes. And so we can stand, and we've got staff here that can answer questions about any of the facility fees in Parks and Recreation. Brian's here to talk about the arena, Jim's here to talk about the golf course if you have any specific questions related to that.
Great. Open up to the committee.
Yeah, so back to the season pass for Splash Valley. Happy to see that we're implementing that. One thing that I was curious about is if you have a season pass, do you still have to pay if you want to do water walking? So if a parent has a pass, because they take their kids there, but they also want to do water walking, do they also have to pay individual admission for that? Or would that be included in the season pass?
So we're still working on those final details for that, if we're going to have that be a part of it. And looking at some of our neighbors and everything too, they have them in both different ways, so that's not been decided. I will add though to the season pass there, it basically equals to coming out 7 times. And so anything past 7 times, they're money in the bank, right, for the person using it. We did also add a nanny pass, or custodial pass, if you will. I can't remember the exact name I gave it. Caretaker. But that'll allow someone, to buy a single pass, and that's transferable, right? So if grandma or grandpa are watching one day, or if there is a true nanny watching one day, that pass is transferable and allowed 1 per family. So that, will mitigate some passes needing to be bought for those that would have that situation.
How does that transferable portion work? Like, is there going to be a list of people who, or it's just going to be this family has 2 kids and 1 transferable, and so whatever adult shows up with the kid uses that pass?
Correct, if they choose that. It'll be an honor system on there, and I've had that in the past, and it's proved to work very well.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just add, since we're on the topic, I like that you've got an early bird, some discounts for early bird for those who are regularly out there. They can save a few dollars. I think that's creative and a great way for families to maybe save a few bucks. The water walking, I do think that it would be great if there was a water walking pass. I don't know, I don't know that having it part of the season pass for the pool is, I don't know how that works out, but I know that there's a lot of folks who go, almost daily, if the weather's right. So I don't know how you might do that.
Well, those people will make out. And once they go 7 times, their pass is gonna be paid for.
Well, no, because water walking is less expensive than the pool, so.
And the water walking does occur before we open for regular hours and occurs after we close for regular hours. So that's why it's not, it's not really
You could go
been
twice.
determined that route on it. We do have the 10 punch passes as well. That gives the reduced rate, so we will continue to keep those. And there's a separate water walking one versus the separate ones for the other amenities.
Yeah, so appreciate all the options.
I think the increases are well within, they look great, so.
Everything's going up, so we might as well.
Well, we're going up like $2 here, $4 there, The season 7-day restricted pass goes up a little bit, but it's for 7 days. So that caught my eye until I did the math. So it's.
Other questions from folks? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to recommend approval of the Parks and Rec Department's 2025 fees as proposed, granting I think this is an important part, granting Parks and Recreation Director or designate the latitude to adjust fees for promotions. I think that was a really good ad.
So moved.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All right. All those in favor of approving the Parks and Recreation Department's 2025 fees as proposed, granting the director or designee the latitude for to adjust fees for promotion, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. It feels, I just have to say, it feels kind of good to also be doing just kind of some of the regular,
Ordinary business?
ordinary business as well. So, so thanks. And for keeping everything else going. I think that's, again, another big kudos. All right. The next item on the agenda is to accept my resignation.
2025 meeting.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry.
No, we're not there
I'm
yet,
jumping
Lane.
ahead.
That quickly?
I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
5D.
Sorry. No, I don't want to leave.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out,
I
Lisa.
know. Am I blushing? I feel like I'm. All right. Okay. I'm going to correct that. The next item on the agenda is to approve the 2025 meeting schedule, which was provided in our packets.
So we're still holding to the monthly?
Well, so the ordinance would suggest that you need to meet January, March, May, September, and November of every year. Given that it's just easier for us to schedule one for every month and then cancel it if we don't have reason to meet, we're suggesting that we just start with scheduling one for every single month, and then as we find that we might not have something to talk about in a particular month, it's easy for us to cancel it. I would suggest that given everything that's going on, we'll probably be meeting more often than not, but we would ask that you at least tentatively set a meeting for every single month in 2025, like you have for the last year or two.
Right. I just wanted to get that stated
Yep.
out. Okay.
I would agree.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2025 Parks and Recreation
You're doing it
Advisory
again.
Committee schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve 2025 Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting schedule.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve, all those in favor to approve the 2025 Parks and Recreation meeting schedule, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now you can resign.
Now I can resign officially? All right. So the next item is to accept my resignation as on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee
Effective.
As of what?
as of December 31st. So you're not quite rid of me yet?
I'll have to see you next month.
Yeah, you got to put up with me for a little longer.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
I regretfully second that motion.
Oh, that's sweet. All right.
All in favor?
So I do this.
Go ahead and pass.
Okay,
it on.
okay, all right. Looking at Eric for something. All right, so there's a motion and a second to accept my resignation from the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries.
So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, so now would be appropriate for the committee to have a conversation amongst yourselves about how you want to move forward, starting in January with who should run the meetings. Would suggest that it would be appropriate to have the secretary be that person, if the rest of the committee members are comfortable with that. And then you need to have a conversation on whether or not it's appropriate to appoint an interim secretary, because we probably won't have the position replaced until May-ish. So there will be a few meetings in which Mark, if that's who you choose to be the interim chair, will run the meetings before we have the position filled, and you have an opportunity to then appoint a new chair and secretary, a permanent chair and secretary for the next year. So suggest you have a conversation amongst yourselves about how you want to proceed.
I think Mark can handle it.
Does Mark want to handle it?
So it kind of sounds like an informal, formal nomination for,
I have no problems handling it. I think we can, with help, I think we'll be fine. But I will not be here for February. I think I told you that. It's not going to happen. So if we have a meeting in February, you'll either need to come back.
I don't think I can do that.
I,
But this is why we need that interim
yes,
secretary.
that's what I was gonna
role.
say, is we need an
I'll
interim
be here-
secretary just
I'll
in
be
case.
here for the rest of the time, but February, I will not be here, so we'll have to cover that.
So you'll be here for January, but not February.
That's correct.
Okay. So
February's the only month I have a problem.
should we get somebody that's going to be here?
So do you want to talk about, how do you feel about kind of
Do we want?
an interim secretary, since you have
Interim secretary or
interim-
somebody that can be here both months. Just throwing it out.
Well, we can worry about it next month, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Okay.
Well, we don't even know if we're gonna have a meeting in February yet, so, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have a meeting next month, and we could put that on the agenda. And
Somewhat unlikely to have a meeting in December since it's only, what, 2.5?
Couple weeks.
3 weeks away?
Couple of weeks.
2 weeks
yeah.
away?
Okay.
Likely to have a meeting in January, very likely to have a meeting in February.
Yeah. Again, it's really your call. I'm going to abstain from that vote, but I think that just knowing it's great to have somebody serving as chair that can be an interim chair that can be consistent, and then having that secretary to be consistent. So I think that's so that when somebody's gone for a month, which happens all the time, people can step in and do that. So I do think that it's important to not just appoint somebody for a few meetings. I don't know if that's what you were, maybe I wasn't tracking what you were
don't know.
saying, Noel, so. But I kind of heard a motion for Mark for chair.
For interim chair.
Interim,
I said I
no,
would be willing to do it.
Yeah, I was just,
Yeah.
Mark, can you do it? That's what I asked. And I mean,
I'd make a motion to have Mark serve as interim chair.
there we go.
Second.
all right. There's a motion and a second to approve Mark as interim chair. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
And then talk a little bit about secretary.
We need to, do we need a secretary or?
Yep.
I think we do.
I
I
think
think so.
we do.
I'm willing to if nobody else wants to, but
I'm pushing my wife pretty hard to get away in February, so
probably not you then.
probably not me.
Is anyone else interested in the interim secretary position? Seeing none, I move that Craig be nominated for that slot, interim secretary.
All right.
Perfect.
Motion and a
Second.
second from Jess. All right. Motion and a second. All those in favor for Craig as interim secretary signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations and thank you, Craig. All right. In good hands. Feeling good. Thank you. All right. I think that was all the agenda items. Moving on to committee and staff discussion items. The first one is reviewing more exciting Parks Bond referendum stuff with the youth baseball and softball complex.
Yep, Madam Chair, members of the committee, so just kind of run through some slides on where we're at with the youth baseball softball complex. It is a part of the referendum project. It's a $5.2 million piece of that project, about 4.1 spent on construction and about $1 million on the soft costs. We have been heavy in the public process on this as well, having a number of public meetings with both the athletic associations, the school district. We've mailed multiple letters to the neighborhood to make sure that people that live around the area are aware of what we've been talking about, listening to feedback, making sure that we're addressing issues that have come up. So the overall project consists of 4 fields constructed in a wheel mostly on Westview property in the southeast portion of that site. Natural grass with dirt infields, irrigated, lighted, covered dugouts, batting cages, fenced distances of 210 down the lines and 230 to straightaway center field. Be a sun shelter in the middle of the 4 fields, sun shelter over all of the bleachers. This diagram or this image doesn't show any landscaping, but there'll be trees planted and whatnot. On the right-hand side of this image is Stracy, and the folks living there wanted to make sure that people don't park on Stracy. So to try to make that be unattractive to folks, we're going to be putting a fence across the 2 outfields there so that you can't walk up the trail and then down into the center. You'd have to walk all the way around the complex to get in. We want to make it inconvenient for people to get to the complex from Stracy, encouraging people to park in the parking lot in front of the community center or use the parking lot at Westview Elementary. So that's an example of us trying to listen to what people had to say about the facility. The U13 baseball fields that's there today will stay there and would be lighted, improvements to the bench area, dugout area. And then all of the rest of the baseball, softball infields would disappear from the site, and we would regrade it and irrigate it and use it for football, soccer, lacrosse, so rectangular sports. We'd be adding some parking south of the existing parking lot. The VAA building will not be there anymore, and it'll be rebuilt and relocated to an area between the senior center and Hayes Arena at the end of that wing parking lot. And alongside of that would be an additional garage space for city maintenance vehicles and equipment to help maintain all of this space. Site changes, so again, 6 backstops removed. The pleasure and hockey is being removed from the site as well. There's stormwater treatment added to the site. I've already mentioned the parking. We talked earlier in the informal about the trails, and one of the comments was trying to create a loop along the western property border to the north, and so we'll see if we can do that. There is no building plan for the middle of the facility, but when we add on to the community center, senior center, we plan to put some restrooms and potentially a concession stand on the back side of that addition that would be utilized by the youth baseball, softball folks. We've already buried the overhead power lines that run down the property line between the school and the city property. Mentioned the VA building being moved to the location you can see in that diagram. And then from a construction schedule standpoint, we'll be looking at starting construction in the spring. On the north part of it, in the late spring, early summer, we'll be constructing the parking lot and the new VAA building. Then we'll be working on the rectangular field space and the wheeled complex in late summer, early fall, with the goal of having everything seated by September. It'll probably take all of 26 to grow in, so maybe there would be some rectangular sport action in the fall of 26, but most likely things will wait until the spring of 27. Because we're going to be utilizing some school district property, working with the school district on a joint powers agreement, we're getting close to finalizing that agreement. So we'd be bringing that in front of to the city council, hopefully in the near future, and then the school district in front of the school board. And with that, I can stand and answer any questions that the committee members may have.
Any questions? No, again, just a lot of great work and more to come. It's going to be a very, very busy year next year for everyone and great things coming. So thanks, Eric. Parks referendum update. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you have a question, sure.
Oh, I didn't realize we play softball.
Yeah, come on up.
So my daughter plays VAA softball down at those fields, and every night in the spring it's packed with all the girls' teams playing. We're going down to just 4. What's the plan then going forward, since we just merged with Fusion to hopefully grow the program? Where will then practices move?
So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, so there's 11 fields on the site today, and none of them are lighted. In the future, there will be 5 fields. All of them will be lighted. So the 5 fields will play like 10 because they're lighted. So you can play. So a team could literally play at 6, and there could be other games scheduled for 8. That'll be up to how they get scheduled by the respective associations. But we are providing for the capacity of 10 playing opportunities versus what today is 11. So there is a loss of 1 playing capacity, but in talking with the associations, because we're upgrading the quality of the facility, adding lights, et cetera, that was a concession that they were willing to make and felt like they could handle it from a scheduling perspective. But again, that's on them. We're providing the resource. They have to manage it to the best of their ability.
And how about when it's under construction?
When it's under construction, it's going to be challenging. There's no question about it. Nick Thompson, who does a lot of our interactions with all of our users, is obviously talking with them now. People are having to plan for, and things will be different during construction when those fields aren't available. That's part of why we're holding off on starting construction on some of those fields until after the baseball season, so they don't lose another year of that. but there's gonna be a little bit of pain, if you will, during construction, but there's no way to get around it. So we'll do the best we can. And we'll try to make some accommodations in some of the other facilities that we have in town. But let's just use Heritage, not Heritage Park, what's the park in town where that little bridge with the tennis court and the ball field that we haven't really used? Belmont. So Belmont has a field that doesn't get used because it hasn't been maintained. We're gonna fix that up, so that'll be put back in the system. That's an example of us trying to make an accommodation to help ease the pain, if you will.
Greenleaf has got one too that it's not,
So-
and it's in good shape, so.
Thanks.
Madam Chair and committee members too, we spoke with both of the Athletic Association presidents, and they have even agreed or stated themselves that, they felt that they could do a better job on utilizing the fields that are out there. And we'll point out one other thing too, there is a skinned field that's gonna remain on the school property over there at Hayes. So actually we'll play like 10 and a half versus, or, not a full 11, if you will.
Good point, because originally that wasn't gonna be there because we were gonna be onto that property, but now that we're not, that field will stay there. So it's actually gonna go from 11 to, kind of 11. So it's a kind of a equal trade, if you will.
Just want to commend you real quick, because I know very early on during the initial planning stages, even before the referendum went to a vote, you were in contact with the athletic associations and were very proactive about that. So I appreciate that was not overlooked. That's good stewardship on the part of city staff.
A lot of moving pieces, a lot of opinions, a lot of interest trying to figure out how to meet the needs of.
Did you have?
Follow-up.
Yeah, coming up, so.
I guess I just want to verify that they're going to have both the inner field for the little girls and the longer lines for the bigger girls when they put in the base movements, because the little girls play shorter.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, there'll be multiple pitching rubbers, multiple base distances, but the fence will be static. I mean, it'll be 210 down the lines and 230 to center field. So that'll be a consistent no matter who's playing there. And home plate's always gonna be where home plate is, but there will be pegs at different levels or different distances to meet the different needs of the different ages that will be using the facility. And again, we believe the facility will meet the needs of 12 and under baseball players and virtually just about any age girls softball.
Okay, all right, just, sorry.
Okay.
I can't see her, so I'm like, kind of looking around you, sorry, awkward. Great.
And I'm not a window?
Not a window. I'm not a window. Okay, any further questions? Otherwise, we'll can move right along. Other parks referendum updates that you?
Yeah, so just so the public can hear.
Yeah.
I know you've heard, but so the public can hear. So next year is gonna be a fairly big year where we're really gonna see some things out there. I mean, this year we've accomplished, in my opinion, quite a bit. We've got the Hayes Hockey Rink project that was started in March-ish, got done in June. We've started the Apple Valley Family Aquatic Center, soon to be referred to as the Splash Valley Water Park. That has been started. We'll finish in May. But there's going to be a lot of other more visible projects started next year. And those include, we will start implementing the Park System Sign Master Plan. So we'll be replacing about 49 of our Park ID signs across the park system. We'll be doing a cobblestone trail reconstruction project. We'll be doing an 8-court pickleball project at Johnny Cake West. We'll be doing a skate park project at Johnny Cake West. We will be doing the Redwood project. We will be doing the youth baseball softball field project. We will probably start the Kelly Park project in late 2025. We will be under construction on 10 park projects, so that's 10 playgrounds, courts, trails, et cetera, found within those 10 parks. We have started and will continue to implement the Alamagnet Natural Resource Management Plan, and as I mentioned, we will be finishing up the Apple Valley Family Aquatic Center. So quite a few things happening next year. Our park maintenance staff is going to be pulled in 1,000 different directions. Those of us that are managing projects will be pulled in 1,000 different directions, and we have to do that on top of what we would say is our normal day job as well. So we'll be very busy, but it's all good stuff. It's all exciting stuff, and we're happy to deliver these projects for Apple Valley residents.
Well, again, just compliments and kudos. This has been an amazing planning design year. It's been nonstop for you and the whole entire team. So again, thank you. And we're going to see a lot of action and construction happening in our parks and facilities across Apple Valley. So super exciting for next year. Do you want to let people know how they can stay in touch and keep up to date on all of this? I'm guessing the website.
Yep, so we will continue to have information on our website about all of these projects. You can obviously call our office and talk to staff. You can send emails if you have specific questions. And we want to make sure that people know what's going on. And if they see something that doesn't look quite right, they should reach out and talk to us, because maybe it isn't right and we need to correct something.
And if they want to email you and get on your master email list for all the things that are coming up, because there's still going to be quite a bit of engagement of getting down to the details and specifics that we'll be working with the community on as well. So
Yep, so they can send me an email and ask to get added to the email list.
yeah, that would be great. Well, thank you. So next one is kind of the committee members. We've got on here kind of the future meeting items. We still have kind of update on the park dedication funds, that kind of getting some information on that at some point.
So I don't remember who asked that question. Mark, can you give me some more insight into what you were looking for? And we will try to get that accomplished sooner rather than later, because one of the folks that knows a lot about that is about to retire, and we want to try to get that pinned down before we let that person out the door.
Good in thinking.
We were looking at something, and there was an article in there on the dedication fund, and basically it explained what it was about.
It's the annual report.
Okay, there we go. The bottom line said that this committee would review it annually, and we've never reviewed it. And you know, we don't know how much money's in there. We kind of know how it gets in there, but is there going to be more money going in with more development in, say, the Orchard Place? Obviously, residentially, we're pretty much done. There will be no new parks, but how much money is in there? How will it be spent? Who can spend it? We can't, but is that the city council, or is that you, or?
All right, so if we bring a report back to you that talks a little bit about how the park dedication fund works, how much revenue have we generated, say, in the last 3 years?
Yep.
How much expenses we've taken out of it in the last 3 years, yep. And what we expect for revenue in the next 5 years through development possibly, and how those dollars might get used in the park system in the next 5 years, would satisfy your interest and curiosity. Is that?
It is.
Okay, perfect.
But
Then
then there's also the park facilities fund, which we don't know anything about either.
we'll do the same thing we can do the same thing for that.
That would be great.
And joint powers agreements, that one will probably be a little further down the line, but we'll take care of the first two ones either in December or January.
That would be great.
Okay, thanks for the clarification,
Yep.
appreciate it.
Any other comments from committee members or anything that you want to see on a future agenda? Or
Did we skip over the discussion about how we're going to fill the opening on this committee?
So that's actually done by the city council.
Okay.
I don't know that they'll post this position because it's so close to when they renew terms anyways. So they'll likely just post the opening with the renewal of the term. So again, I'm not sure which two of you, but at least two of you, your term ends in February, and you'll have the opportunity to get reappointed if you want to, or you could choose to step down if you want to. And if you choose to step down, then that will create another opening in which the city council will select or interview and select candidates to fill whatever openings there may be. For sure, we know that we have one because of Lisa's resignation. Does that make sense?
I'll try to make sure they're awesome.
I was just thinking on, depending on how the process was going to work. We just had, when Jess and I were appointed fairly recently, there were 4 or 5 other people that had indicated interest in joining the committee. If there were to be some sort of interim thing, I know that's up to the council, there's 4 or 5 interested candidates just waiting in the wings potentially.
Yeah, I don't know how long the applications stay on file.
Yeah, so my recollection is all of that actually happened before the normal process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Matt, we had an opening because Brent stepped down.
Yep.
Or announced that he was gonna step down. And then in the interim of posting that vacancy and the normal, committee assignment process, Matt, and his family decided to move out of town, out of state actually, and so there was a second opening. And so the two of you were appointed to either a true opening or finishing a term at the normal time in which the council handles that type of business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I know we had a agenda item to accept Lisa's resignation. We did not have an agenda item to thank her for her service. So I'd like to, right now, thank you for all you've done, for all your hard work, and appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor, a joy, and a privilege to be a part of this committee. And in my resignation letter, I said, 5 years, and Mark and Noel were there, and then the rest joined this merry band, and going through COVID and making, when parks were like the safe place to be, and social distance, to all the work on the Parks Bond referendum, and just to see it come to this. I mean, it sparked my passion, and just, again, getting involved with the community and my desire to take it to the next level. So again, thank you so much for your support and your friendship and everything. It's been great.
Congratulations.
On that, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor to adjourn, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is over. Thank you.